everybody, Michael Louden. I'm your old pal Michael. Welcome back to Michael Louden TV. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for watching my channel. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. I will post a link to that in the description below and let you know about it at the end of the video. Well, anyways, yesterday was September 11th. I'm actually recording this video on September 11th, but won't be able to get it up to you until September 12th. So anyways, I know probably people have done videos on this in the past, but I've decided, I want to share what I remember about that day, that tragic day back in September 11th, 2001. So anyways, that day there were two planes that crashed into the World Trade Center. Another plane crashed into the Pentagon, and another one was taken down in a field in Pennsylvania. So that's what happened that day. But the big tragic thing that obviously happened. But I mean, we all have our experiences. We can remember where we were when we heard about the attacks, what exactly happened on that day. It's, if you were alive during that time and could remember, it was engraved in your mind. And it was definitely engraved in mine. So anyways, I even made a journal entry that day as well, just so I could take down exactly what ended up happening during that time. So anyways, this is my story of what happened. Back in that time, I was in 7th grade. So that was, let's see, how old was I at that time? Let's see, 13 years old, I believe. Yep, 13 years old, because I turned 14 later. In 2002. So I was 13 years old at the time. I was in 7th grade at Gull Lake Middle School. And the day, of course, started out like any other day that we had. Got on the bus, had breakfast, got on the bus, went to class. The attacks actually happened when I was sitting in computer class, and you would have thought maybe that would have been the time we'd have found out about it. But we were on the computer actually doing. This wasn't just like a class where you could just computer class where you could go online and just goof around and play games. This was like a class where you had to do typing and do creative projects in it. So that's probably what we were working on. So none of us were browsing the internet at that time. Then I ended up actually having lunch early because there was 3 different lunches that we had, and I was the one in the early lunch. So our lunch, and I mean, by early, it was like 10:30, like our lunch time. So we were sitting down in the lunchroom. Our assistant principal, Mr. Borman, came up to us and told us what was going on. Actually came up to our table. He went around to like each individual table and said, "This is what's going on. If you want to go see it, go up to the library." Like he had said, the World Trade Center had been hit, and I didn't even know what was going on at the time. I mean, as a kid, being in 7th grade, some of this stuff you understand, but a lot of it you don't, and you have to process first what's going on. So we go up to the library, and we're watching the footage on TV. The librarian had put in a VHS tape to record the footage of that day, obviously for historical purposes. But the first images that I ended up seeing was the Trade Center coming down. It already had come down by that time, but that was the first image I was seeing, and I wasn't even thinking plane hit the Trade Center because I didn't even see it. That was, like I said, that was the first image I ended up seeing, and I was thinking, what did they do? Demolish the building? And then once they replayed the images again of the planes hitting the Trade Center, you see the Pentagon on fire, and you see the fire in the field in Pennsylvania. And in that moment, that's when I knew what was going on and we were under attack. Well, after that, we ended up having our social studies class. So and that was a good class to have after that, because we're obviously learning about the world and our country and stuff like that going on at that time. So we ended up the whole class just having questions. Our social studies teacher, Mr. Jansen, was telling us what was going on. So we could get a clear understanding of it. We're all asking questions, wondering, are we going to go home from school for the day early because of this? Is any more of these attacks going to happen today? There was tons of rumors flying around about other things getting attacked. Like I said, us going home from school early. just a lot of questions like being asked around the whole day. And then after that, we of course we didn't get out early. We went on the bus, we went home, and the rest of the day all I did was like watch TV. And it's like, I know for being in 7th grade, you know, you're kind of in that range of being, you know, growing into an adult, but you're still a child at that point. So I mean, some parents probably would have shielded their children from seeing that, obviously seeing those horrific images. You know, mine didn't. I was allowed to watch all of what was going on with them. And of course, I mean, there was the huge smoke from the collapsed buildings coming across New York City that you're seeing. So basically all I did was watch the news the rest of the day. In fact, I didn't record anything on VHS tape, but I've got stuff recorded actually off the radio. So I've got cassette tapes of the events of that day. I have not went back and listened to them because they'd be just so, you know, they're just so raw still. I mean, it was such a sad day witnessing it all. I mean, going back and hearing it again would be like, you know, reliving that whole moment again. And even though it's been 14 years now since, you know, the 9/11 attacks happened, I mean, we should never forget that, you know, this day and the attacks. So let me actually read the journal entry that I wrote for that day. Yesterday, the day started like any other day. We headed off to school and went to our class around 10:15. Or we went off to class, and then around 10:15, I went up to catch up on the news. That's when we found out about it. So I guess 10 o'clock was our lunchtime, not 10:30, like I said. The World Trade Center had been hit by 2 hijacked planes. Another plane hit the Pentagon. The last one went down in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. One of the other planes was said to hit the White House and Air Force One, but it didn't. So there was like those rumors flying, like I said, like the White House had been targeted. September 11, 2001 will be known as the attack on America. The 2 towers of the World Trade Center collapsed, and Building 7 did, and 3 more buildings. Part of the Pentagon was also destroyed, and they had to protect President Bush. I got interviewed for the school newspaper, and I said I was shocked. I also, and this actually also happened that day in band class. So I mean, just all the things like that happened that day. I also got second chair auditions for the trombone section. I'm going to be in the school newspaper, like I said. I was interviewed, and apparently the one that hit the Pentagon was supposed to hit the White House, but that was like a rumor that had happened at that time. Now, of course, later that same weekend, all the sporting events had to be canceled because they weren't sure like were more attacks going to happen. And of course, when you have all these people at sporting events, that could have thrown everything into chaos. People wondering, you know, are we going to get attacked here at such and such sporting event going on? I mean, it was basically the beginning of college football season. It probably started like a week earlier, so we're basically in the second week of college football. None of that. There was no NFL games going on. All planes were grounded as well, so not hearing any planes overhead was really eerie since September 11th through that weekend. That was strangely, you know, eerie, not hearing any of those planes. And of course, not seeing any games as well. I mean, like I said, college football, NFL, baseball games, you know, Major League Baseball games were canceled. Everyone's, you know, and that's it. The heat of the pennant race is going on. Like I said, that was probably, the NFL season was probably going into their second week, I would have said, by that time. So, of course, everything had to be pushed back a week because of that. So the NFL season, college football finished like a week later because of that. In fact, I remember I was getting all excited for the Western Michigan game that weekend because, you know, I'm a big Broncos fan. I'm a big Wolverines fan, as you can tell as well. So I was hyped up for that game. Of course, we didn't get a chance to watch it. And in fact, our next ASO soccer game that we had, which didn't actually happen that weekend. I don't know if it was actually, I can't remember if it was canceled because of that. But we ended up wearing flags on our jerseys to show our support of the United States, obviously. And then after that game, we went home and we watched the Western Michigan game on TV. And of course, they had the big moments of silence like at every game beforehand. So all that was happening. In fact, I'll read a little bit more out of my journal here to tell you exactly what ended up happening. I said I was actually mad because all the sporting events were canceled, but I mean, it was, you know, reflecting on it, it was a good thing they were all canceled because no one knew what was going to happen. So I ended up playing NCAA Football 2000, and I was Western Michigan, and I beat Iowa, or no, I was saying Iowa and something about Iowa, Illinois, and Penn State in the game, and saying that I played in the national championship game. So just things I had to do to fill my time. Since there were no sports, I'll say, well, I'll play sports by myself then, and so that's what I ended up doing. So that's really all I had. I didn't really talk about the soccer game or much about after that. So just want to ask all you viewers, all you subscribers, what was your moments you remember from September 11th, 2001? Where were you at when you found out about the attacks? What else happened during your day that you can remember? I know it's probably pretty easy to pin down because that's like one of those things you'll never forget. Like if you were alive during when Pearl Harbor happened, you're not going to forget where you were when you heard that Pearl Harbor was attacked and the United States was brought into World War II. So if you have anything that you can remember, post that in the comment section below. Don't forget you can subscribe to my channel for more content. I'll post a link to my Twitter in the description below. This is Michael Louden, over and out for September 11, 2001, Personal Reflection.